I cut off my toxic mom and golden child brother after mom demanded I give him my life saving. Now they're broke and begging for money. Hard pass. Hey Reddit, my mother has always played favorites. So before I even get into the whole thing about cutting people off, money and all that, I gotta give some backstory so this makes sense. My family life was just weird and honestly kind of unfair from the start. But these people aren't done yet. I'm 22, male now. But when I think back to being a kid, I can remember this one thing clearly. My mom had a favorite. And that favorite was my younger brother, 20 male now. People think favoritism is like small stuff, like maybe a parent sneaks one kid an extra dessert or something. But this was on a whole different level. My younger brother could literally do anything, and mom would protect him. He'd mess up, and somehow, it was always me or my older brother's fault. He's 26 male now. She didn't even try to hide it. I can't even count the times I got yelled at or punished for something he did. My dad was kind of the quiet one. He worked a lot, kept to himself, and I could tell he didn't always agree with my mom. But he wasn't really the, let's sit down and talk about our feelings kind of guy. He mostly avoided arguments, probably because every argument was about the same thing. My mom defending my younger brother. Not long before my parents split, things hit a peak. I was maybe 13. My younger brother had been getting worse. Breaking things, yelling, throwing stuff when he didn't get his way. One night, he took my dad's tools from the garage and scratched up my older brother's bike. When my dad found out, he told him to put the tools back and calm down. My mom jumped in immediately, defending him like always. She said he was just a kid and my dad was being too hard on him. My dad replied firmly that my brother was old enough to know better and that she couldn't excuse everything. Mom snapped back, accusing him of never supporting their son and always picking on him, saying that was the reason he acted out. I was standing there quietly when mom turned to me and said I should stop staring like I was perfect, adding that I was just like my dad, always judging. It turned into a shouting match. My dad finally said, "I'm tired of this. You blame everyone but him. You never hold him accountable." My brother started yelling, saying it wasn't fair. He even shoved me when I said, "You broke it, just admit it." My dad separated us, but mom yelled at me for provoking him. That night, dad slept on the couch. I remember hearing them argue after we went to bed. They kept bringing up the same things: favoritism, blame, and how dad couldn't take it anymore. It was one of the last big fights before he moved out. Living with them was like being the third wheel in your own family. My brother would act like he owned the place. Loud, breaking stuff, sometimes even throwing things when he didn't get his way. And mom? She'd make excuses. She'd say things like, "He's just going through things," or "He can't help it." She once even mentioned some condition, but honestly, I never saw any paperwork or diagnosis. Years later, I went through some old boxes and found nothing. I remember one time when I was about 15. We had this decent flat-screen TV. My younger brother was playing some game, got mad, and threw the controller. It hit the screen and cracked it. Mom came running in. Me. He threw it. I was in my room. Younger brother. No, he was messing with me, made me mad. Guess who she believed? She turned to me and said, "You know how to push his buttons. You probably started it." I had to pay half my next paycheck from my part-time job to help replace it. I didn't even touch the controller. That's when I started thinking, I need to get out of here. The thing that made it worse was that he wasn't just a little hyper kid. He could get mean. I remember a few times when he'd get in my face, screaming, throwing things. Once, he shoved me hard enough I ended up with a bruise. Mom told me to stop being dramatic. That stuck with me. When dad left, I guess I thought things would calm down. But nope, they got worse. Without my dad there, mom doubled down on protecting her baby. Everything revolved around him. I tried to just keep my head down, finish school, and get out. That was my whole mindset as a teenager. Survive until I can leave. I didn't go to parties, I didn't have much of a social life because I didn't want to give anyone another reason to point at me and say I messed up. I worked a part-time job, saved every bit I could, and planned my exit. And to be honest, that was the only thing that kept me going. Every time my mom yelled at me for something stupid, or my brother made a mess and blamed me, I'd tell myself, one day I'll be out of here. One day they won't have control over me. When I graduated high school, I didn't waste time. I applied to colleges out of state, got in, packed my stuff, and left. I stayed in that college city after graduation instead of moving back home. I remember my mom trying to guilt me. She said things like, "Family sticks together," or "Who's going to help your brother?" I just ignored it. When I left, it was like I could finally breathe. College was tough, but it was freedom. I could make my own choices. I wasn't walking on eggshells, or whatever, all the time. I even met my fiance there, 23 female now. We clicked fast because she was the complete opposite of what I grew up with. Kind, supportive, no games. We built a life together, got our own place. First kid at 20, second at 21. We got engaged last spring. I kept in touch with my dad and older brother. They knew some of what I went through, but I never really told them everything because I didn't want to drag it all up. As for my mom and younger brother, the contact was minimal. Maybe a holiday text or call, nothing major. Every time we did talk, it was always the same vibe. Mom praising him, acting like he was doing amazing, and then asking me why I don't come around more. The first holiday after I moved out, I came home for Thanksgiving. I figured maybe things would be better since I wasn't living there. Nope. My brother sat at the table bragging about some temp job he quit after a week. Mom kept saying how proud she was. I mentioned I'd been working 2 jobs and getting promoted at the diner. Mom's response? Well, don't forget your brother's been through more. He'll find his way. Later that night, he picked a fight over nothing. Said I was acting like I was better. I left early. Didn't even stay the night. That was the last holiday I spent there by choice. I didn't cut them off completely because a part of me still thought, they're family. But I knew where my priorities were. My fiancé, my kids, my job, they came first. I worked my way up at a restaurant and became a manager. We weren't rich, but we were stable. And after how I grew up, that stability meant everything to me. Still, even with the distance, I could tell my mom hadn't changed. Calls were short, and she'd sometimes bring up money or guilt trips. My younger brother, whenever I saw him on social media, was still the same. Loud, entitled, spending money on nonsense. I stayed away because I didn't want any of that touching my new life. I thought I had left all that behind. Turns out I was wrong. Things really started heating up when my dad got sick. That's when everything came back. And this time, it was worse. Leaving home for college was a relief. No yelling, no blame. Dorm life was cramped and money was tight, but it was mine. I worked nights stocking shelves and summers at a local diner. That job turned into something bigger when the owner saw I showed up and handled things. He trained me for management. During this time, I met my fiancé, now 23F. We bumped into each other at a vending machine when it ate her cash. We talked, started seeing each other, and it just fit. Calm, practical, and supportive. The opposite of what I'd grown up with. We stayed in the college city after graduation. The apartment was tiny, the furniture secondhand, but it was ours. I worked my way up at the diner, she kept us organized. Our first child came when I was 20, the second a year later. Life was steady, if busy. My mom and younger brother were background noise. Occasional calls, usually about him needing money. I always said no. Money was always tight. Summers I worked at a local diner. Bussing tables, running food, cleaning. I didn't mind it. The owner liked that I showed up and handled things without drama. He started trusting me with more. I picked up skills. Dealing with customers, managing time, keeping things organized. It wasn't glamorous, but it worked. Mom called every now and then. It was rarely to check on me. It was usually about my younger brother. One call stuck out. She said, "He's having a hard time. Can you send him some money?" I answered calmly, "No, I can't. I'm barely covering my own bills." She sounded frustrated as she insisted, "You have a job. He's family. You need to help him." I shook my head, replying, "I'm working 2 jobs just to pay rent. I'm not funding his games and bad choices." Mom's tone hardened. "That's your brother. We all need to support each other." I stayed firm. Support goes both ways. He's never lifted a finger to help anyone. I'm not his bank. Her voice rose, sharp and disappointed. "You're being selfish. One day, you'll regret this." I answered without hesitation, "If he learns to take care of himself, I won't regret anything. I'm done sending money." She hung up angry. That was the pattern every time. I kept my distance. My older brother and I texted often, mostly about normal stuff. Work, sports, jokes. We both avoided talking about Mom. After college, I stayed in the same city. My fiancé and I got a small apartment. We were broke, but it was ours. We split bills and handled things together. Meals were basic, furniture was secondhand, but we were fine. I kept working at the diner. When the owner opened a second location, he offered me a manager and training spot. It meant longer hours but more pay. I took it. Not long after, we found out we were having our first kid. It was a shock, but it focused me. I worked more, saved what I could, and cut out anything unnecessary. My dad visited when the baby was born. We didn't talk about old stuff. He just helped fix a few things around the apartment and spent time with the baby. Mom didn't come. Said my younger brother needed her. I didn't argue. I didn't expect much from her anyway. Life settled into a routine: work, home, bills, kids. I got more responsibility at work, better pay, and a set schedule. We had our second child. It wasn't easy, but it was steady. My fiance kept us organized. I learned to focus on what mattered: my family and my job. My mom and brother were background noise. Calls were rare and short. I didn't offer money, didn't let them drag me into problems. I kept the distance. Sometimes I'd see my younger brother's posts online, new gadgets, complaining about jobs, always some drama. Mom still sent messages like, "He's struggling, can you help?" I ignored them. My priorities were clear. I wasn't going to carry people who never supported me. Then my dad got sick. Nothing minor. He needed rides to appointments, someone to keep an eye on things. My older brother had a long work trip, so he called me. "Can you cover for a few weeks?" I didn't hesitate. Dad had been quiet but steady in my life. I wanted to step up for him. I arranged paid leave, packed a bag, kissed my fiance and kids, and went back home. I told myself it was temporary. Help Dad, stay low, avoid the old drama, and get back as soon as possible. Then, my younger brother showed up. Going back to my hometown was strange. I hadn't lived there for years. Streets looked smaller, everything felt a little outdated, but I kept my mind on why I was there. Take care of my dad, stay focused, avoid drama. Dad was glad to see me. He didn't say much, but you could tell he appreciated the help. He was thinner and slower, but still sharp. I set up a routine right away. Meds in a pill box, meals planned, appointment dates on the fridge. I cleaned the place, stocked some groceries, kept things simple. For the first few days, it was fine. Peaceful even. I'd wake up, cook breakfast, check on Dad, drive him to appointments, run small errands. At night, I'd call my fiance and kids, make sure everything was good back home. Then my younger brother found out I was back. He called first, acting like he cared about Dad, but I knew that tone. He asked when he could come by. I said fine, but laid out rules. Keep it quiet, Dad needs rest, clean up after yourself, bring your own money if you want food because I hadn't shopped much yet. He said, "Yeah, no problem." He showed up the next day, didn't follow a single rule, loud from the moment he walked in, dropping stuff on the floor, leaving trash on the table. Dad was tired, and I kept reminding him to lower his voice. He ignored me. Later that afternoon, Dad had an appointment. We decided to grab lunch afterward. I told my brother we were heading out, and if he wanted food, he should come with us and bring some cash. He stayed behind. Halfway through the appointment, I get a text. "Bring me food." No question, just a demand. I told him we'd already ordered and I didn't have extra money. He got angry and started sending more texts. When we got home, he was gone. Not long after, my mom called. Right away, she started accusing me of being selfish, saying I refused to feed her baby. She even said I stole his money. I kept it calm and told her the truth. I sent her screenshots showing everything: him agreeing to bring money, him wasting it on gaming, him demanding food, me saying no. She didn't care. She called me heartless. I stopped arguing. Dad backed me up, told her to drop it. She went quiet after that. That night, I sat in Dad's living room and realized nothing had changed. Mom and my younger brother were still the same, and being near them was draining. I wasn't going to let them pull me back into old habits. I stayed focused on Dad. My older brother called when he could. He thanked me for handling things. My fiance kept me updated on the kids. Life at home kept moving, and I was ready to get back to it as soon as Dad was better. One day, I took him to an appointment again. My brother showed up halfway through. He walked in late, loud, phone in hand, not caring who heard him. Nurse asked him to quiet down. He rolled his eyes and kept talking. After the appointment, he said, "Why didn't you bring me food?" I told him, "Because you didn't ask, and I'm here for Dad, not you." He started getting mouthy in the parking lot, raising his voice like he wanted a scene. I told him right there, "You keep this up, you won't be welcome at these appointments." He laughed and said, "You think you run things now." I just ignored him and helped Dad into the car. Dad didn't say much, but I could tell he wasn't happy either. Christmas that year made things clear for me. Dad didn't want a big event, but I thought he deserved something. He was sick, it was cold outside, and I wanted him to feel like it was still a holiday. I bought some groceries, cooked a simple dinner: chicken, vegetables, a small dessert. My older brother's girlfriend came by, and a couple of cousins stopped in to say hello. It was calm. Then my younger brother showed up without asking. He didn't bring anything, not even a soda, just came in like it was his place. I told him he could sit down, but to keep it quiet because Dad was tired. He said yeah, but I knew he wasn't going to listen. Within an hour, he was being loud, complaining about the food, spilling a drink. He had his phone on speaker, laughing at videos. Everyone else was trying to eat. I told him to cut it out. He rolled his eyes. At some point, he made a comment about how Dad's favorite meal should be something better than this. That's when I knew he just wanted attention. I didn't let it slide. I told him straight that if he couldn't respect the house, he needed to leave. He didn't move. Instead, he called Mom. 10 minutes later, she showed up, walking in like there was a crisis. She demanded, "What is going on? Why are you treating your brother like this? It's Christmas." I replied firmly, "Because he's being loud, disrespectful, and ignoring the rules I set. Dad needs rest." She waved it off, saying, "He just wanted to visit. You're overreacting." I kept my voice steady. He made a mess, didn't listen, and started arguing. I told him to leave if he can't respect the house. She crossed her arms. "You always pick on him. He's younger. He doesn't know better." I shook my head. "He's 20. He's not a kid. He's responsible for his behavior." Her voice rose in disbelief. "I can't believe you're throwing him out on a holiday. Family sticks together." I answered firmly, "Family also respects each other. He agreed to the rules. He broke them." She crossed her arms, voice louder. "You've changed. You think you're better than us because you moved away? He's struggling, and you can't even be nice for one meal." I stood up. "I'm not better. I'm just not letting anyone treat me like garbage anymore. I've helped Dad, cooked this dinner, kept things running. He came here and trashed it." She shook her head. "I raised you to be loyal. Now you're cold. When we're gone, you'll regret this." I pulled out my phone. Here are the texts. Him agreeing to the rules. Him wasting his money on games. Him demanding food. It's all here. Dad saw it too. Dad backed me. He's right. Enough. Mom's name. You're making this worse. Mom looked around, but no one spoke up. My cousin stayed quiet. My brother muttered under his breath. I opened the door. "If you can't respect the house, leave. Both of you. I'm done arguing." Mom glared at me. "You'll regret this one day." I just said, "Maybe, but not today. Goodbye." I finally told them both to leave. I opened the door and waited. My brother muttered something. Mom said I'd regret it, and they walked out. The rest of the night was quiet again. We finished dinner, cleaned up, watched some TV. Nobody brought it up. After that, I knew it was time. I wasn't going to spend my life dealing with this. When I left to go back to my fiancé and kids, I blocked both my mom and brother. No explanation. No drawn-out talk. My dad and older brother supported it. They'd seen enough over the years. When I got back to my fiancé and kids after Christmas, I was done. I blocked my mom and younger brother on everything. Calls, texts, social media, gone. I didn't owe them an explanation. My dad and older brother supported it. They knew the history. At first, it was quiet. I went back to work, spent time with my kids, planned our wedding. Life was simple again. But a couple weeks later, I started getting texts from random numbers. Short stuff like "answer me" or "why are you acting like this?" I didn't respond. Then the tone changed. Angry, name-calling, guilt trips. It was clearly my younger brother. He'd blow up my phone for a day, then stop, then come back again a week later. Mom stayed silent, which was worse in a way. She always went quiet when she was mad. I figured she'd try something eventually. Then one afternoon, my phone started buzzing nonstop. Family members I barely talked to were calling. A cousin, an aunt, even an old neighbor. Every message was the same. "Call your mom. Something happened." I thought maybe something was wrong with Dad. I finally answered my aunt, and she said, "Your grandfather passed away. Your mom's a wreck." I was shocked for about 2 seconds, then checked my phone. I had a text from my grandfather that morning, so I called him. He picked up on the second ring. "Hey," he said, calm as ever. I told him what Mom was saying. He went silent for a moment and then said, "I'll handle this," and later posted in the family chat to say he was alive and told people to stop spreading it. An hour later, the call stopped. My aunt later messaged me, "Your mom was lying. She's losing it. People are upset." That was it for me. Faking a death to get my attention? Done. I told my fiancé everything. She said exactly what I was already thinking. Keep the block on, no contact, protect the kids. My older brother called and said he blocked her too. Even my dad stopped answering her messages. Weeks went by. My life stayed steady. Work, family, wedding plans. I ignored every unknown number. Sometimes I'd get voicemails. My brother calling me selfish, saying I ruined the family, even saying I owe them for helping me as a kid. It was laughable. Then relatives started hinting that things were bad on their side. Mom was struggling with bills. My younger brother couldn't hold a job. They were short on money, arguing with people, and apparently blaming me for not stepping in. A week later, my phone buzzed. It was a new number, but I recognized the writing. We need help. Can you send some money? I didn't respond. Later, another message. This is serious. We need you. Then, if you loved your family, you'd help. I ignored it. A few days later, I was visiting my dad one weekend, checking on him, fixing a couple things around the house. Everything was quiet. Then there was a knock on the door. Dad looked at me and said, "You want me to get it?" I said I'd handle it. It was my mom and younger brother. No heads up, nothing. They just stood there like they were invited. I asked firmly, "What do you want?" Mom replied, "We need to talk," and walked right in without waiting. I said, "This isn't a good time." Mom pressed on, "It's important. We're having problems. Your brother lost his job. I'm behind on bills. You're doing well. You can help." I shook my head. "Number, I'm not giving you money." My brother jumped in, arms crossed, saying, "Wow, really? You make decent money? You can't even help your family? What kind of man does that?" I stood firm. The kind that remembers years of being treated like trash. The kind that doesn't get manipulated. Mom's voice sharpened. "Watch your mouth. We raised you. Everything you are is because of us." I stepped closer and said, "No. Everything I am is because I got out and did the work. Don't twist it." She moved closer, insisting, "Don't talk to me like that. We're not asking for much, just some help. A few hundred. You spend more than that on your kids probably." I didn't waver. My kids are my responsibility. You and him are not. You chose your favorites. You lied. You even faked a death to get me to call. You burned that bridge. My brother scoffed. "You're unbelievable. You think you're better than us." I kept my tone even. "Better? Number smarter? Yes. I learned not to give people like you chances to walk all over me. This is my line." Mom's face hardened. "Family sticks together. When we're gone, you'll regret this." I pointed to the door. "I regret nothing. Leave now." They hesitated like they thought I'd crack. I didn't move. Dad came out of his room and said quietly, "He's right. You need to go." My brother cursed under his breath. My mom glared at me. Then they walked out. After that day at my dad's, I knew staying no contact was the right call. Things were quiet for a few weeks, but then more random numbers started texting. It was always the same. Short, pushy messages. "We need to talk. You're hurting your family. Stop acting like a stranger." I ignored everyone. A couple of weeks after that last blow-up, things seemed quiet. I was back to work, spending time with my kids, planning the wedding, and keeping my phone blocked to unknown numbers. My dad was doing better, my older brother was back from his work trip, and life felt steady. Then one Saturday, while I was home with my fiancé and the kids, my phone lit up with messages from family, cousins, an aunt, even an old friend. "Your mom and brother are asking around about your address." And someone sent me a screenshot from social media where my brother posted something like, "Some people forget where they came from. They'll see." I didn't respond, but it bothered me. We'd made it clear. Leave us alone. The next day, while I was running errands, I got a call from my dad. He said they showed up at his place again, but this time they brought some of my brother's friends with them. They were loud, saying they wanted to talk to me. Dad told them to leave. They refused for a while until he threatened to call the police. Later that evening, they tried calling me through different numbers. Finally, one call came through from a cousin's phone, and I answered. Mom's voice was sharp. "We need to settle this. You can't just ignore us." I replied, "There's nothing to settle. I told you before, I'm done. Leave me and my family alone." Mom pushed back. "Your brother needs money. He can't find work. I'm falling behind on bills. We're your blood. You can help." I stayed calm. "Number, I'm not a bank. I have my own family." Mom's tone turned accusatory. "You're selfish. We raised you. You wouldn't even have that life if it wasn't for me." I shot back. "That's funny. I built this life by getting away from you. You treated me like nothing for years." From the background, my younger brother yelled, "Stop acting like you're better. You owe us." I ended it. "I owe you nothing. This conversation is over." Then I hung up. A couple of days later, they came to my dad's place again when they knew I might be there. This time, it turned into a full confrontation. Mom stood firm, saying, "We're not leaving until you help us. We're desperate. This isn't a game." I didn't back down. "You're making it one. I told you no. You didn't listen." Mom glared at me. "We're family. You think your kids will respect a man who turns his back on his mother?" I met her stare. "They'll respect a man who protects them from toxic people." My younger brother stepped forward, voice full of attitude. "Keep running your mouth. You're soft. You think you're tough because you have a job and a family? You wouldn't last a week in my shoes." I stayed calm. "Your shoes? You were handed everything. You wasted it. That's on you. They kept going. Mom said I was cold, ungrateful, even cruel. My brother started pacing like he wanted to start something. My dad stepped in and said, "Enough. You both leave now." Mom glared at me. "When we lose everything, you'll be sorry." I stayed calm. "You lost me a long time ago." They left angry. I didn't call or text. I blocked any new numbers I didn't recognize. After that, I changed my approach. I made sure my credit was locked, my address was private, and my fiance knew never to answer unknown numbers. My older brother did the same. From that point on, I wasn't just ignoring them. I was protecting my space. They'd crossed a line, showing up with other people, trying to pressure me. That told me everything I needed to know. And after that confrontation at my dad's, I locked everything down. Every new number went straight to block. I told my fiance if any strange messages came through, just ignore them. My dad and older brother stayed firm too. Life went back to normal for us. Work, kids, wedding plans, bills, the usual. A couple months passed. I didn't hear anything until some cousins started talking. Word was that my mom and younger brother were struggling. My brother still couldn't keep a job. Money was tight, bills piling up. Mom was asking around for help. It didn't surprise me. That was always the pattern. Spend, make excuses, blame others. I thought things had finally gone quiet, but a few weeks later they crossed another line. A couple of months after blocking them, I was at the store with my oldest child. I was pushing the cart while my kid picked out cereal when I suddenly heard my mom's voice behind me. She called out loudly, "Oh look, he's too good to call his own family." And I turned around and saw them walking toward me. "Leave me alone, I told you this before," I said firmly. My younger brother sneered, "What, you can't even talk? You've got money now but can't help your family?" I stood my ground. "Not my problem. Stay back." Mom's voice grew louder as she closed the distance. "This is who you are now, acting like a stranger to your own mother. You'll regret this." I kept calm. "My kids and partner are my family. That's it. You two are not welcome in my life." My brother threw his hands up, mocking. "You think you're better than us? You wouldn't have anything if it wasn't for Mom." I didn't flinch. "All I have is because I got away from you. Back off." A few shoppers started to look. My son moved closer to me. Mom snapped, "Your kids will see what kind of man you are. A selfish one." I answered evenly, "They'll see a father who sets boundaries. Now walk away." My brother stepped forward like he wanted to start something. I moved in front of my child. "You want to go? Do it somewhere else. You won't intimidate me." He smirked. "Oh, tough guy now, in front of your kid?" I kept my tone cold. "Say one more thing and I'm calling security." Mom scoffed but kept yelling, "Everyone, look at this man abandoning his family." At that point, an employee came over and asked, "Sir, is there a problem?" I nodded. "Yeah, they're harassing me. I asked them to leave us alone." The employee stepped between us. "Ma'am, sir, you need to leave the customer alone or I'll call security." Mom threw her hands up in protest. "We're family," I said firmly. "No, you're strangers to me now. Stay away." Another employee comes over. My brother mutters something under his breath but starts walking off with my mom. They're still talking loud, but they leave the aisle. I pay for my groceries and get my son out. Then came the messages again. First polite, "We need some help, just a little." Then pushy, "You have a good job, you can spare it." I didn't reply. More came. "If you cared about your family, you'd step in." I ignored those too. One weekend, I was visiting my dad with my kids. They showed up. Walked right in like nothing happened. Mom started saying they were in a tough spot. Needed a loan. My younger brother stayed quiet at first, then started talking about how I owe them because family helps family. I kept it simple. No. They kept pushing. Mom said I was heartless. Brother said I forgot where I came from. I reminded them of everything. Years of favoritism, blaming me for things I didn't do, disrespect, lies, even faking a death. I told them I didn't owe them anything. They didn't like that. Mom raised her voice, saying, "You'll regret this when we're gone." My brother said, "You think you're better than us." I stood up, told them, "I have a family to protect. I won't give you a cent. You made your choices? Leave." They tried one more guilt trip saying, "We're your blood." I said, "My kids are my blood too. They come first." I walked them to the door. They left angry, but I didn't feel anything. In the end, Mom and my younger brother kept struggling. They went through jobs quickly, bills piled up, and relatives eventually stopped helping. Word reached me that they were still blaming everyone else for their problems, but by then, they were just voices from the past. I focused on my own family, and that's where my story stayed. Since then, it's been quiet. My life is full enough. Work is steady, kids are growing fast, and my wedding is coming up. My fiance is my partner. My older brother and dad have my back. That's the family that matters. Mom and my younger brother are still around somewhere, but they're just people I used to know.